This is Jacob Dutton talking to his wife Kara Dutton way back in episode 5 of season 1 of 1923.
You start hiring livestock agents, you gotta look them in the eye. Don't trust the charming ones. Charming ones work for him.
Stick with me here, because during episode 6, Helen got to work and came upon Clyde.
My apologies, ma'am, but there's no gentle way to describe it. I don't know what hell is, but it ain't worse than Chicago.
Yeah, Helen didn't fully trust Clyde then, but the sheriff tossed him a badge anyway, and then on the way out, this happens.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Do you see who else is in that room? That's Jack Dutton, who never trusted Clyde.
I've seen you before. At the Civic Center.
I don't miss a meeting.
There, right there, you see that? If only Jack had held on to that suspicion. Go on, get out of here if you've not yet watched, because spoilers are coming. Episode 6 sort of felt like that hour before Mom comes home when you've spent all weekend with Dad. Things were casual, maybe even a little lazy before, oh crap, we gotta clean up, go, 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 go! I counted 7 deaths that, had they happened during any other episode, would have been the only thing worth talking about. It's like the cast of 1923 got doged. Full updates on what went wrong for Teonna out on the range, Spencer on the train, Alex, Paul, and Hillary on the highway. That's all on the way, but we're going to start with Jack Dutton, because at the end of this video, an interview with actor Brian Konowal, who will take you deep inside this fateful scene.
Talk about just cold-blooded. The way it happens.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still a little shaky after episode 6. It was sensory overload, so we'll start with this poll question. What was the most unbelievable moment from A Mountain Teeth of Monsters? Was it Jack? Was it Father Renaud and Marshall Kent? Was it how the plotline with Hillary and Paul wrapped? Comment below. My hot take is that Jack's death was overshadowed by so many other events, but we'll start there anyways. Really, it was rather Jack-like. The Duttons learn that Spencer is arriving by train, so they take their men to the train station to make sure that Banner's men don't try to shoot him. Jacob explicitly tells Jack to stay behind and watch over the house, but Jack is gonna Jack.
How many my uncle take?
3, I think.
Yeah, 3. That ain't enough. What's he gonna do with 3 men if he gets in a scrape? I'm gonna try and catch up to him.
On his way there, he comes upon Clyde, who he figures is friendly because he doesn't know Clyde is a livestock agent, doubling as a mole for Donald Whitfield. They ask Jack about Spencer.
With the gun in his hand, there's no one better.
That a fact?
I'm a close second.
You don't say.
Man, that was really hard to watch. But I think the full emotions of that won't come until episode 7, when Jacob, Kara, and Jack's wife Elizabeth learn the news. I'm gonna fight off the temptation to talk family tree here because this really changes nothing. Both Liz and Alexandra are still pregnant, and their fates have yet to be decided. The whole thing reminded me of Lee Dutton's death in season 1, episode 1 of Yellowstone. He was just doing the right thing when he's shot in cold blood. You gotta figure Clyde is gonna get his next, right? Comment below, and if you like something you see from the Y collection at tasteofcountrystore.com, you'll appreciate knowing that we're doing a flash sale right now with up to 40% off items like this Better Call Rip t-shirt. Maybe we need a Better Call Spencer shirt for after he tags Clyde. It's gotta be Spencer who does the job, right? He's on the train and we really don't see much of him during episode 6, but we do learn a little bit more about his war history.
Where were you stationed?
Argonne.
What battalion?
The one that lost.
You know I did a deep dive there. That all refers to a nearly week-long battle in the Argonne forest in France at the very end of World War I. Even if you just read the Wikipedia version of events, you'll learn a lot about why it's a famously tragic offensive and all the hell that these men went through. Honestly, it tells us so much more about Spencer Dutton. Super cool to include this nugget in the script.
When's this Spencer returning?
Don't know. She said he's on the rail. Any day now.
Banner knows Spencer's on the train coming into Livingston because it turns out telephone operators are really big gossips. So, he's indeed mobilizing men to the train station. They just don't meet up with Jacob and the sheriff's men quite yet. I'm hopping around a fair bit, and I'm actually going to hop right over this only scene with Donald Whitfield because I think we're all in agreement on the lack of purpose that his relationship with Lindy serves. Honestly, if you've not watched this episode yet, you may want to consider fast forwarding from about 12 minutes to like 16 minutes or so. That's when you get to Teonna, who we'll talk about next. She is afraid something bad happened to her lover Pete, and by the time we get to her, we know she's right. Marshal Kent killed him.
You have been tasked to bring justice to a murderer!
The murderer is you.
Marshal Kent killed him, but Father Renaud is not happy about it. In my opinion, the most surprising thing that happened this week came next.
You hear me, Father? Go f yourself.
I know, we shouldn't share death, but dang, that felt good. So, now we fast forward about 35 minutes for a Father Renaud-Teonna confrontation that we've all been waiting for. Thinking they no longer have to worry about the lawmen, she and her dad build a fire, and that attracts Father Renaud, who's still on the hunt. He runs his horses, bit of an unceremonious death for him there, and he has Teonna right where he wants her.
Renouncing salvation! I renounce it!
And to the devil with you.
Of all the things that happened during this episode, this was the scene that choked me up. In fact, this scene right here, I mean, someone needs to make that into a poster. This entire plot line ended up being a show within a show that I would argue was better than the action in Montana. Tremendous writing and attention to detail. Not really sure what kind of award this should win, but the native cast and their advisors, they need their flowers. In fact, you know what? Okay, so we've talked about Jack, Marshal Kent, Father Renaud, runs his horses, Pete. That leaves just 2 more deaths, and y'all, this was really the saddest part for me. If you remember last week, I asked if we should trust Paul and Hillary, and in the end, the answer was yes. Big yes. They were good, so good.
Quite the adventure.
Quite indeed.
After hearing Alex's harrowing story, Paul decides he'll drive her to Bozeman, and they set off, making great time as they enjoy stories, 1920s driver's ed, a little nip of whiskey or wine, and then they get to Buffalo, Wyoming.
Take the train from Sheridan. Car won't make it.
Are there no roads?
Yeah, there are roads. Just no more of these.
If there's a lesson to be learned here, it's always listen to the locals. Paul presses on. Soon, they hit a storm. Yeah, remember, car heaters wouldn't really become a thing for another 15 years or so, so everyone just had to bundle up.
Henry, take a blanket.
Keep the blanket. You're pregnant.
It's freezing. We live in Chicago, dear. We're used to freezing. We'll warm ourselves like the Irish.
Rest in peace, Hillary and Paul. You were all so good to our girl. And just a reminder that among bad men like Bowler Cap in New York City and Benjamin on that train to Chicago, there are good people out there. The show needed these 2 characters, but their pluck and their naivete proved to be their undoing. This is how the episode ended, actually, unless you count another one of Elsa's motivational speeches.
Man destroys everything.
Side note, what has happened to Elsa in heaven? In 1883, she was a burst of sunshine, but since she died, she's just been this early 20th century version of Debbie Downer, but I digress. Typically, I reserve this space for some theories and a few brief opinions, but I think something really needs to be said about Donald Whitfield and Lindy. They are without a doubt the ugliest scenes in the history of this franchise and a true blot on an otherwise informative and fascinating series. The words beyond pale come to mind, but beyond that, it's just such a waste of a great television villain. Timothy Dalton is tremendous in his role, but I think a group of writers could have come up with another, equally dark, less sensational way to show his perversions. This is the kind of thing that happens when one man writes all by himself, there's no one there to point out mistakes, and that scene involving Mabel on the bed was a big mistake. I'm not a prude. I wouldn't even say I'm a conservative on issues like this. In fact, if you could defend this plot line, I'd love to consider your points in the comments section below, but as of now, if I'm grading this series, it's going to lose a full grade because of the sadistic pornography that was shoehorned into an otherwise awesome television western. On Thursday, it's your questions, comments, and theories as we prepare for the season finale of 1923. That's right, there is just one episode left, which was a surprise to me because I thought we got 8 episodes, but Paramount says 7, and that's a real kick in the crotch, but we'll get past it. You can enjoy a longer conversation about this episode of the Dutton Rules podcast on Tuesday, and it's there you'll find the full 30-minute long interview with actor Brian Konowal. He plays Clyde, and I'm going to share portions relevant to that scene with Jack now. It's a big chunk of it, and I think you'll walk away feeling a little less angry about a murderer. I'm Billy Dukes with Taste of Country. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. And joining me now on the Dutton Rules podcast, Brian Konowal. The dirty, thieving scoundrel, Brian Konowal. I'm sorry. I'm taking what happened last night on 1923, and I'm making it personal. I shouldn't do that. I'm just affected by what happened.
I understand. Clyde is a rascal. No doubt about it.
Give me your reaction when you saw that in the script. So last night, episode 6 of 1923, we find Clive kills Jack Dutton. That's kind of the big spoiler. When you saw that in the script, your response to that?
I immediately shouted and was like, called for my wife. I said, "Oh my God, Heather, you're under, lock and key information. Look at this." I mean, it's huge. Jack's a huge character. So I'm completely honored to be the guy who gets to do him in. It was awesome.
I mean, things tend to not go well with people who kill the Duttons. I've kind of thought you were a marked man really from the get-go. Once we found out you were a bit of a turncoat, I figured, okay, this is a great character, fun to watch.
Yeah,
this is going to catch up to him at some point in time.
I think Clyde is he's a smart guy though. He's definitely caught in a bad place, but I mean, he's a survivor, so he's not afraid to get his hands dirty for sure. And if you go back to season 1, you can see that he's a thinker too. Originally he's like, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of the state, and Banner's not having it. So I think Clyde decides he's all in and he's going to, do whatever it takes.
This all got me kind of rethinking what happened in season 1. In a little bit, I want to ask you kind of about how you approached, especially that scene where you sign up for the livestock agency with Kara, because it's really interesting in retrospect. But first, take us right into the scene with Darren Mann, who plays Jack Dutton.
Yeah.
His fatal scene. Kind of take us through the filming of that scene. Was there anything that happened that was remarkable? Was it a difficult scene to shoot?
It wasn't easy. We got delayed once because we got a lot of weather. It was pouring rain and then it snowed, and because of the rain, we had to make snow. And I'm riding in, I ride in on a horse, and we're doing a full lope on the horse. So, you've got a vehicle with a personality. So yeah. We're, and we had there's gear everywhere, cameras. So we had a lane. We're sort of on this road. So you had to ride in, control the horse, and then proceed to do the scene. So right. That was a challenge. I mean, I'm okay on a horse now. I'm getting all right, but just right. To do that and do the acting, and then, when we fire blanks, you don't know what the horse is going to do. So we prep them for that. And sure enough, I think Darren's horse bucked pretty huge the first time. And we have great people in place for safety and all that. And, the advisors and stunt guys, Jason Rodriguez, the guy who doubles me is a guy named Tad, who's just a legendary horseman from the world of rodeo. And, he was there, Tad Griffith. And so he was there, kind of helping and making sure everything went well, because my job is to just get in there and really do the scene well. Right. But the great part about having the training was it went pretty smooth. With all the factors considering, my horse didn't give me any trouble controlling him while you do the scene. So as an actor, just exhilarating scene to do, just awesome.
Is there a certain weight to a scene like that too? Especially maybe I'm more so on Darren's side, but I imagine you catch a whiff of it as well. I mean, a final scene like that, is there a heaviness that you're sort of aware of as you're filming?
I was when I did a week in Texas, and when I ran into Darren, and he was immediately like, "Oh, you kill me," and I was like, "I'm sorry, it's Taylor. Taylor writes it," yeah. But for sure, because he's a beloved character, so hopefully, if I do my job right, everyone will despise Clyde even more than they do.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, talk about just cold-blooded. The way it happens, Darren, his character, Jack's such a great hero, and he's itching to fight, and he's constantly wanting to go to battle for the family, and here Clyde just takes him out without a peep. He doesn't even get to draw his gun. So,
where do you go to act in a scene like that? I mean, I've known you 4.5 minutes, and you're smiling. You seem like a good jovial dude. Like what dark space do you sort of have to sort of go through that scene convincingly? Like,
you do a little actor stuff and just try to put yourself in the mindset of what a sociopath would do. Because I think Clyde is, there was some question earlier on as you're getting the scripts. Some people do a lot of backstory, this or that, and you're playing the scenes you get. And I thought it was clear that this season, if there was any question about Clyde, full-blown psychopath, you know what I mean? So I just thought, I went into it thinking he's looking forward to it. I mean, he wants this. For whatever position he's been put in by this whole range war, Clyde's going to come out on top is sort of the attitude.